Transportation Committee meeting of Wednesday, February 12th at 6:30 p.m. by Zoom. My name is Dominic Stiller. I am first going to take attendance. It's good to see everybody. So I'm just going to read off the committee members one by one because, and please let me know if you're here or not. So Ian Betancourt.
Ian was traveling on business, so he said he would try to attend, but he wasn't sure, so he is traveling.
You sure it was business and not pleasure, Florence? I'm joking. So it doesn't matter. So Antonella Di Severio, you're here.
All right, I will unmute. I'm here.
Adam Cox. Shahanez Hamde.
Here.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yuma.
Here.
Okay, the infamous Tom Ryan. Tom Ryan. We can't hear you, but we do see you. So I don't know if we want it on audio, but
Hello.
Hello, Tom. I know we'll be hearing from you soon.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Feltow.
Here.
Hey, nice to see you. Daniel Aliberti. Christina Lastris. Amin Mahedi. Vice Chair Nas Magutas. Oh, hi, Nas.
Through the chair, Amin did send a message. He wasn't able to attend tonight.
Thank you. Thanks, Florence. So that's the whole committee, and we've got it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 members. 7 of 12. So are there any other CB1 members present? I see Quinella Williams.
Yes, I'm here. Hi, everybody.
And I see, I thought I saw Elizabeth Arion. Are you here?
No, Jean Marie Deolive is here.
Hi, Jean Marie. Are there any other members of CB1 that are here that that I haven't recognized? No? Okay. Great. So as you probably heard in the preface, we will have a presentation by the Port Authority, and I believe it's something to do with for-hire vehicles. Don't know much about it myself. Very interested to watch. I suppose you guys will be presenting. So the presentation will be, I guess, led by Hirsch Parekh of the Deputy Chief of Intergovernmental Affairs, along with Tony Vero, General Manager of LaGuardia Airport, Kevin O'Driscoll, Deputy General Manager of LaGuardia Airport, Ian Van Prague, not Ivan, Manager of Landside Operations, Ferdinand Ramos, Assistant Manager of Landside, not Landslide Operations, and lastly, Frank Watts, Community Outreach Representative. And Hirsch, would you like to begin?
Sure. Good evening, everybody. Great to be with all of you on this virtual Zoom meeting. I'll just note I had my own community board meeting tonight. I sit on Community Board 8 in Central Queens, and our chair and our district manager decided to cancel our meeting tonight due to the impending weather. So I don't have a community board meeting tonight for me to attend of my own, but glad to be here with CB1 Transportation. So tonight we have a presentation that we'd like to share with you about a recent change that was made regarding the operations of LaGuardia Airport, focusing on our for-hire vehicles, or as they are known, Ubers and Lyfts, the operations that support LaGuardia Airport. As you know, LaGuardia recently underwent a significant redevelopment, brand new airport, really getting tremendous reviews by our customers and our passengers and all the users of the airport. Ubers and Lyfts are an important part of the operation of LaGuardia, along with personal vehicles and public transit that services LaGuardia, which is primarily via MTA bus. However, as I said, we did make a recent change in the operations of our for-hire vehicles. which would impact the Community District 1. And so we wanted to make sure that we came out and presented this change to you and answered any questions that you may have about it. So with that, I'm going to ask my colleague Frank Watts if he's able to share his screen to put the presentation on the screen. And once he does that, I will ask our LaGuardia General Manager, Tony Vero, to do the presentation. So Tony, over to you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Pleasure to be with you. As was said, my name's Tony. I am the general manager here at LaGuardia Airport. I've worked at LaGuardia for over 20 years, and I have been the general manager for over 5 years. So I feel like a member of Community Board 1. So let's run right through it. I have a few slides here to share with you, and then we'll open it up and take any questions. Frank?
Frank, are you having technical difficulties with the presentation? Okay, stand by. I'll share my screen. Give me one moment.
Can you?
Okay, Frank, stop sharing yours so I can share mine, please.
Okay. Had it.
Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Looks a lot like Frank's.
All right, let's jump in. Tony, go ahead.
You have it in presentation mode and you're on the right slide. Thank you very much, Hirsch. So I thought I'd just start off by showing this very nice graphic
Hirsch just couldn't see it.
of the new airport. As Hirsch mentioned, and as you know, our redevelopment is complete. That was a brand new Terminal B shown in purple there, and a brand new Terminal C in blue, replacing the old Terminal B, C, and D. And in yellow reflects all of the new supporting infrastructure that was built along with the new terminals, new roadways, bridges, utilities, and parking facilities. And LaGuardia Airport, these renovations have been very well received by the customers, and the passenger numbers continue to grow. So again, we broke a record in 2023, and we broke a record again in passenger activity in 2024. Last year, LaGuardia served over 33.5 million passengers. Next. So 40% of our customers use for-hire vehicles, and I'm going to refer to them as FHVs. And when I reference an FHV, I'm really talking about Uber and Lyft app-based rides. And 40% of our customers use FHVs to access the airport, and staging lots are an industry practice for managing the flow of these FHV vehicles into our airports. FHV staging lots are geofenced, meaning that a vehicle must be within the geofence lot in order to be able to do business with the airport. For a customer to call and for them to receive that call and do business at one of our terminals. Now, there's two different ways FHVs pick up customers at the airport. 40% of the total is through a process that Uber and Lyft called rematch. And that means that when a customer calls for a ride, a vehicle that just dropped off someone on the departures level who was taking a flight out is immediately summoned to our pickup area to pick up a customer. So they don't have to go to the staging area. They drop off and they immediately swing around and make a pickup. 40% of the total people being picked up at LaGuardia Airport are picked up through rematch. The other 60% must use the geofenced staging lot. Next. So LaGuardia's, there we go. LaGuardia's geofenced FHV lot had been located on 23rd Avenue in East Elmhurst. The property was acquired when we were in the midst of our redevelopment program. We had a 5-year lease on that property. It's shown in red in this graphic. And that lease expired or will expire at the end of this month in February. So with that lease expiring, we had to make a change, and we've relocated the staging of our FHVs to the blue area, which we refer to as Ingram's Mountain, 19th Street. Next. The exact address of Ingram's Mountain is 46-10 Berrien Boulevard. And as this graphic shows the perimeter of the airport boundary, and Ingram's Mountain is part of LaGuardia Airport. I think most people know that it is elevated 40 or 50 feet above street level. And back in 2016, we leveled the top of the mountain and we created an 8.5 acre plateau and converted that into a parking area. And that parking area is shown on the next slide. It has about 1,000 parking spaces. It's accessed from Berrien Boulevard through that curved driveway. And this just demonstrates how we've used it since it was created. Back in 2016, we had airport employees parking there for a few years. Then it transitioned into support space for our redevelopment program. We had contractors staging equipment and material there. And in 2022, as we were coming out of COVID, believe it or not, the propensity for people to want to drive and park their own cars at the airport grew so much that we couldn't accommodate all of them in the terminal area lots, and we were overflowing. And so we used Ingram's Mountain to handle customer parking when we were in an overflow situation. So it's had many uses over the years since it was created back in 2015. The next image shows how we use it today. So when you get to the top of the mountain, it really is broken up into 3 pieces. That red triangular areas used for operational staging and support space, miscellaneous vehicles and equipment. The big green area is the FHV staging area that just opened a week ago. And that area is served by a driver amenities facility in yellow there. We have restroom facilities for the drivers, men and women. We have a meditation facility, and we have a food truck there for the drivers. So it's quite nice. We consider the drivers part of the airport community, and we value them, and we try to do the best we can for them. And we also have an area there in blue, although it will seldom, if ever, be used. We do consider it as overflow parking space should we need it, but the airport parking has easily been accommodated on airport since COVID ended. And we really, even during peak holiday travel times, don't see and don't anticipate having overflow parking situation. But we have the space, so we've allocated some of it for that purpose. So as we were planning this move, we have traffic engineering folks, and we asked them to try to assess for us the ways in which vehicles will leave the mountain and make their way to our 3 terminals, Terminal A, Terminal B, and Terminal C. And through their work with the mapping platforms, Google Maps, Waze, they've determined that this is the primary way in which vehicles will leave Ingram's and will make their way to the terminals. Berrien Boulevard, 45th Street, 19th Avenue, and out. And then you can see there in blue green, and red, the way in which they would get to terminal A, B, and C. And so far, since we've opened this, a large number of the vehicles are using this route. So from a customer perspective, there's been very little change, whether the vehicles stage at 23rd or they stage at Ingram's Mountain. From the customer's perspective, from the airport's perspective, it's quite similar. It's working well, but we understand this has shifted a considerable number of vehicles to the west side of the airport, and that is causing some difficulties, which we've been monitoring. And again, with our landside operations and traffic engineering staff have been making observations so that we can understand if there are problem spots, where they are, and how best to address them. So I think, that's really the extent of the discussion. And now we open it up, and we're happy to take any questions that you may have.
I have a question.
So, okay, hold on. So committee members, I've got a weird screen, I just want to say, so maybe I want a little relief, but I have, Tony is huge in my screen, and I've been trying to make it, tile view. Can anybody tell me how I can,
Dom,
yes?
go to the corner on the top. It says view on the
Got it,
right side of your screen.
Yep, gallery. Perfect, thank you. So committee members, please raise your hand, and I hadn't seen any. I was going to put in the chat. It's sometimes hard to see the order that questions come in. So we've got a presentation specifically about, for-hire vehicles. I personally wouldn't mind if Hirsch and the team has time for a few other parallel or peripheral questions after this, but let's keep the questions to the for-hire vehicles. So I do see Antonella's hand up. Antonella, please, go ahead.
Yes, hi. I was
Hi.
just what is the ask from the committee? Do we need a letter of support, or like is there an ask? Do you need something from the committee?
No, there's no ask. This is a informational briefing to advise you of this. And as Tony mentioned, the Ingram's Mountain is part of the airport, and so we at the conclusion of our lease on the 23rd Avenue lot, we relocated the FHV operation to Ingram's, the staging operation to Ingram's. But in terms of your question, Anton, there's no specific ask. This is a briefing to inform you and to answer any questions that you may have about this.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
I have a question, but I can't raise my hand because I'm on my phone. I'm not on a computer.
So Vincent, I hear you. We're going to take questions from the in this order, from the committee, and then from the community board, and then from the public. I personally don't know you. You might be president's best friend. So can you hold tight?
Oh, well, I'm from the industrial business zone, Steinway Industrial Business Zone, but absolutely.
Wonderful. We'll definitely want to hear from you. Definitely want to hear from you. Tom Ryan, I definitely would like you to, I want everybody to kind of, you hit reaction, right? You go down to reaction on your, am I right? Reaction, and then you hit raise hand. So you Ma put something in the chat. So can we hear you? You is
all right.
Go ahead.
Figured it out. Thank you.
Okay. And then
Okay.
Tom, you're going to be next, whether you hit the, perfect.
Awesome. Thank you. I have two questions. First question is the new staging area is quite a bit farther from the older one, and you said that travel time is almost 14 minutes for depending on the terminal. Has that affected pickup times? Are drivers dispatched before or after a match?
So that's a great question. And the way we were able to keep the travel time, or let me say the pickup time, consistent, even though they're traveling a greater distance, is through a technology that Uber and Lyft have called pre-dispatching. So vehicles are called to the curb to pick up customers even before the customer is asking for them. Through data and historical information, they are able to anticipate what the demand is going to be, and they call for the vehicles even before the customer is actually at the curb requesting a ride. And we have some space to enable these vehicles to queue without causing a problem at the terminal frontage. And it works really well because the customer, it's invisible to the customer. Most customers are calling for a ride. The vehicle is a very short distance away. It's either en route or it's actually already at the terminal, and it just moves up to the pickup location and picks them up.
Okay, thank you for that context. I have a second question, which is somewhat related to H Freehill vehicles. The past couple times I've taken the bus to LaGuardia, it's gotten stuck right around that hairpin turn before Terminal C, and it seems like stuck or blocked behind people waiting or trying to get picked up by Ubers or Lyfts. Have you seen that problem yourself? And are you taking steps to mitigate that issue?
So let
Another
me take
very
that
great
question, Hugh.
Okay, go right ahead, Hirsch.
Yeah, so this, we have probably about 2 years ago, we actually presented on what we call our LaGuardia Ground Access Program, which is a program we're undertaking to really improve mass transit access to the airport. And as I said at the beginning, right now the only mass transit available to the airport, public transit, is via MTA bus, right? And so one element of that program is to create a separate pickup and drop off area for public buses, especially as they are approaching Terminal C, because we know that is a pinch point where they sometimes get stuck behind Ubers and Lyfts and personal vehicles and other vehicles like that. So that is a project that we are going to be advancing, and we will have more details about that probably the next few months. But there will be a designated bus only pickup and drop off area so that the buses do not get caught in that vehicular congestion that does sometimes occur at that sort of that U-turn area that you're describing.
Okay, great. That's fantastic here. And it seems like this is separate from
Correct.
the LaGuardia bus that you presented several months back.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
This is part of the there's a lot of things happening still at LaGuardia. Just because redevelopment is finished doesn't mean there's no shortage of work, and that is a separate, although important work stream that is underway.
And
Okay,
when do you think that'll be live? I'm sorry, just to add to Yu's question.
So we are finalizing some of the planning that's underway for that. And so we'll be returning probably in the coming, like I said, month or two to present a greater update on the overall ground access program.
Okay, thank you. So, team, in general, please announce how many questions you have, and we want, it's not a heavy session in terms of community member questions, but try to, I have an intention to basically go one question at a time around. So if you could today, because it's a light amount of questions, just say how many questions you have before you're starting so we know. And then let's let you please put all your questions to the panelists so we can they can consider the answers and decide how to distribute them before you go on to your second question. So hi, Tom, please.
I have two questions.
Thank you.
One, what kind of security system do you have to protect drivers and passengers? Because there is what I can tell in the area, an uptick in crimes. So does there come some kind of security plan, a program within the airport to protect both the drivers and the passengers?
So let me just address the passengers point first, Tony.
Yeah.
Passengers are not being picked up on Ingram's Mountain. The vehicles are only being dispatched from Ingram's Mountain.
Yes.
The passengers are still being picked up at the airport. So unless we are activating that overflow parking area that Tony described, you won't see passengers or private vehicles or airport customers on Ingram's Mountain. It'll be the drivers of the vehicles of the Ubers and the Lyfts that will be up there. Let me turn over to Tony and talk about the security that exists though at that location for the
Talking
operation.
about the whole airport, not just the parking
I'm
lot.
sorry,
Oh, for the whole airport. Okay.
guys, Tom, did you state your two questions or not?
No, do you want me to state
Okay.
both of them?
Yes, if you don't mind. And then
No, I don't mind. My other
thanks.
question was, how do you intermix the other, I was at the airport the other day, the yellow cabs, you got these FHVs, how do you, is someone coordinating so that there's, some kind of traffic control, for not just the FHVs, but the yellow cab and whatever else is in the airport? Is there some kind of monitoring of the airport in terms of controlling who's where at any one time?
Yeah, Tony?
Yeah, sure. So let's talk about the security first. And up on Ingram's Mountain, it's important you understand that we have staff there. We have what we call a pedestrian traffic manager, staffed, and a supervisor who monitor the vehicles flow in and out, make sure that everything is tidy and safe. We also have Port Authority police regularly patrolling the top of the mountain. In every tour, in every 8-hour tour, multiple times in those tours, they're making a pass through and providing security. We also maintain the facilities that we have up there. So we have a constant presence in addition to the people assigned to oversee the traffic and the drivers. We have maintenance people, which just adds a presence. The area is well lit, and we're working on installing a camera so that we have eyes on the situation there at all times. Now, that camera would be one of a very complex series of cameras that the airport has, which are monitored in the airport's operations center, the AOC. It's like the heartbeat of the airport. It's staffed 18 hours a day, and we are monitoring our roadways continuously. When there is an issue, the AOC coordinates with PAPD and they dispatch police to address motor vehicle breakdowns, accidents, any type of situation on the road. So you hit it on the head. We have personal vehicles, we have Uber, we have Lyft, we have buses, we have taxis, we have shuttles coming from car rental companies and from hotel. And so each terminal has what we call an allocation. Each of those different modes of ground transportation have a different area in which they operate from. So it's very well coordinated, and it enables the traffic on the frontage to keep moving and the traffic on our roads to keep moving. Believe it or not, getting to the airport is a very important customer experience attribute. And we're monitoring all types of customer experience attributes. And the AOC's primary focus, they have many, but is monitoring the roadways through that series of cameras and deploying our police to any issue. We have tow trucks, heavy duty and light duty, at the ready to dispatch if needed so that we can clear a disabled vehicle and reopen the road. It's so important that those roads continue to flow and customers can get to the airport on time so they can get into our new terminals and start to enjoy them.
Okay, and Tom's second question was about, so I guess you've touched on both, right? The security and the traffic control.
Just a quick comment from my own personal use. The signage in LaGuardia is very horrible. I had a hard time figuring out how to get out of the airport. So just personal
Well, let me
comment.
tell you something. You hit another super important point to us, because wayfinding and signage, there is almost nothing as important as clear wayfinding and signage for customers, for vehicles and for pedestrians. They need to know where they are and they need to know where they're going. And it's an ongoing, continuous effort to continuously seek improvements. So it was horrendous in the old LaGuardia. It's much better now, but we're not there. We're not there. I'm agreeing with you. We're not where we want to be, and we're still working on it, but it's improved tremendously, and we're continuing to make it even better.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tom. So I just want to, it seems that many people are putting comments in the chat, predominantly about 45th Street. So we will get to that. Although we don't, as a rule, it's optional to take questions from the public. Lefteris, can you please state your question?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. Was there an assessment done? Because, you know, we tend to work late. We're there 12 hours a day. There was a statement made that there is patrolling there. I mean, I'm there.
So your question is, was the
Anything?
assessment done and is there petroleum there?
Of 45th Street and Berrien Boulevard. Because it is not properly lit. There's not enough sidewalk there. And these guys are speeding down Berrien primarily and 45th Street.
Yes, they are.
So, in terms of, I just want to make a point about patrol. When Tony talked about our staff and our Port Authority police, you know, we have jurisdiction over Port Authority property. We are not able to enforce and you know do jurisdiction outside of our property. So that's just one point. But with that being said, we do recognize that there is increased traffic that turns onto 45th Street from 19th Avenue and looking to access the entrance to Ingram's from Berrien Boulevard. And so we actually have been monitoring that. I was out there myself just a couple of days ago. I know Tony has had his staff out there monitoring it. We recognize that there is an increase in traffic, and sometimes there are vehicles who are not following the stop sign or not, or speeding. And so we recognize that, and we are, like I said, monitoring it very closely, and we will be more than happy to work with City DOT, because these are DOT streets, right? To look at alternative ways to keep the traffic flowing safely at that intersection in particular. And so that is something that, again, we've had our traffic engineering team go out and take a look at it to put together some recommendations that we think will help the conditions. And like I said, we'll be happy to work with the community board, with the district manager, and with City DOT to see what modifications can be made so that we don't see that type of unsafe conditions that sometimes has been occurring there.
Yeah, just for the record, this is an accident waiting to happen, especially at night. There's not even sufficient light to cross the street. You know, the area is notorious for after hours racing and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure this thing slowed down now. This is an accident waiting to happen. There's no visibility there, neither for pedestrians, nor Uber drivers, which I think they're careless to begin with. So
let me interrupt. Hirsch, can you share your screen one more time, put the map up and show because it seems to be a problem area that I live by the Queensboro Bridge. I'm not aware of this, so I'd love to be more informed.
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Thanks.
And I don't believe there's this, and I don't.
Okay, so I'll use this map. So here's 45th. Can you all see my cursor?
Yes.
So here's 45th Street.
Right.
And so vehicles have been, approaching 19th Avenue from either direction, turning onto 45th Street,
right,
then turning right onto Berrien over here to enter Ingram's Mountain, because the only entrance is on this dead end street. And so what I think we're hearing is that as vehicles are turning on from 19th onto 45th, and not just what we're hearing, what I've seen for myself, I know Tony and his team have seen for themselves, is that vehicles are not adhering to the stop sign that exists at this location, and that they are also speeding down 45th Street to make that turn onto Berrien to enter Ingram's Mountain.
It's
getting
worse. Sorry.
increasingly aggressive towards the workers in the area. No
Correct.
one's addressing that.
Correct. And it's worse on the other side. You know, it's okay, there's a stop sign there, but if you're trying to cross across the street where DP is, there's nothing for a pedestrian to cross there, first of all. But they don't stop. When they're coming out of the airport, it's just a free for all.
And they're lined up, double parked.
All right,
We
guys,
can't get in and
guys,
out of the block.
Florence, can you help? It should not, we don't want this to devolve into a, just an open discussion of 40 people. So we have to raise our hands and we have to be recognized. But I get your point, Pauline, and I appreciate your comments in the chat. So, Lefteris, you can put your hand down. We understand you specifically. Let's drill down specifically, Lefteris, before we let you go. Give me an intersection and a street, okay? That's what I want.
So it's 45th and Bering.
45th and Berrien, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So are there any other problem intersections or streets besides that one? I'm asking the community, please, about the recent changes. So 45th and Berrien, are there any other intersections that are, in your opinions, inadequate at this point? So that seems to be, Pauline, you've been very prolific in the chat. I appreciate it. As of now, it's backed up on 19th Avenue from 45th to Hazen. Hirsch, I've been on Hazen, but I think it's the service road. Can you show me Hazen on that map? Is it the?
So the challenge also is the fact that on 19th from 45th, I believe down to from down to Steinway, there are no traffic control devices, meaning no stop signs, no traffic lights. And so what happens is people often will speed down that corridor.
To get to your lot.
Excuse me?
To get to your lot.
Yeah, I mean, whether to get to our lot or, whatever they're trying to do. And so again, we do recognize that that is a condition that existed obviously before this. And it has, there are more vehicles now traveling down that. And so again, that's another item that, again, I observed, Tony's team observed, our traffic engineering team observed. And these are the types of issues that we will be following up with City DOT, again, in partnership with the district manager and the community board office to see what traffic control devices, such as a stop sign or traffic lights or things like that, can be installed at those intersections as well.
And this was just Ingram's Mountain. And I can't believe I'm saying Ingram's Mountain. I feel like I'm either in the middle of a Neil Young song or a community board in Tennessee, but we're in Queens, New York. And when was Ingram's Mountain open? You said a week ago, I believe. Am I right? All right. So, from what we see on 31st Avenue and other DOT modifications, it takes time for things to settle into a new normal. So, Hirsch, do you think this is a victim of change and just the quick implementation, or do you think there are bigger problems here on the whole, 45th specifically?
Well, I think part of it, and look, I'm not a traffic expert, but I think part of it is the introduction of, new vehicles to this area that previously did not traverse this area, right? Because as we showed previously, they used to come from this lot and go to the terminals. And so I think part of it is, this introduction of new vehicles. And like I said, we will continue to monitor it. We have been, even when we had the lot at 23rd Avenue, there were some concerns raised by the community over there, and we did our best to work again with the local precinct, with DOT, to implement certain mitigations. And that is what we are committing to continue doing at this new location. Again, working, monitoring it, working to see what options are available, what DOT is able to implement and install. And that is what we will continue to do as this operation, normalizes and the drivers become familiar with it and so on and so forth.
I have a question for Florence. Hi, Florence.
Hi.
These are complaints about speeding. It's not a building. It's not a residence. It's not outside one building block and lot. How would people go on 311? Because Lefteris and Pauline and everybody, I don't know if 311 is appropriate here, but it's really effective to quantify complaints and things through Florence's desk get treated with priority the more 311 responses there are. So Florence, can you advise about
Yes.
what the
So-
public should do in this case?
Mhm. So in my humble opinion, I put it in the chat, the phone number and the email of the office. I firmly believe, and I've asked for this before, but now we have good reason to install speed cameras in this area. I have been asking for multiple years for speed cameras to be put in this area. And now with this addition, it will give more credence to my ask.
Understood.
Also, with having a partner like Port Authority, we'll have the wherewithal to push through with DOT to get stop signs, which are absolutely necessary. The stop signs are far easier to acquire than our lights, street lights, traffic
Understood.
signals. So that is something else that I would be working very closely with Hirsch and Tony to get done. The residents can call 311, put in speeding vehicle complaints and get numbers quantified. And people can also call 311 and request the stop sign. So there are numbers in the deck for us to reference. But with the work of the board office and Port Authority, I think that meaningful change coming together can really happen.
But it sounds like DOT Queens needs to be a partner in this, obviously.
Oh, of course. They're the ones who are going to do the study and approve the signs. Without them, none of this gets done.
Sure.
They're very reasonable. They do the studies when we ask, and they have even gone back and done second studies. As I stated, because of the increase and with the Port Authority's partnership, my hope is that we should be able to make some meaningful changes here.
I hear you. It just seems like from seeing the chat, there, and I'm sorry, I live by the Queensboro Bridge, guys. I live, 4 miles southwest of you, or 3. I see chat, in the chat about cars lined up. So
yes,
Hirsch,
which is brand new.
Hirsch,
yes.
Are the cars lined up to get up the hill?
No, so what happens is, again, they turn onto 45th Street, right? And
Going north.
going north, right?
Okay.
And as they are, during particularly busy times of the day when there's heavy arrivals of flights, there's more vehicles.
Right.
And so, they are on 45th Street, and they are waiting to turn onto Berrien to enter Ingram's Mountain. And so it's not that they're double parked, right? They are waiting in the queue, basically on the street, to turn onto Berrien and enter Ingram's Mountain. So that's sort of what I believe some of the commenters in the chat are referring to.
Can you give the close up of the site again? Because I'm just amazed. Sorry, Florence. I'm just, I see the site here, and the idiot in me wants to say, why can't you just enter from the east or enter from the south? But obviously you can't. You've got to, when you've got a spiral like this, it's like you've taken the most circuitous way to get up to this mountain just to come back down to this airport. It's just, is there plans for more direct access off of, I forget the name of the street. I think it might be Ditmars, actually. Is that Ditmars on the right? Like, does it swoop down there? What's that street on the right?
This is the entrance to the Rikers Island Bridge, right?
Right, but what's the
Hazen
street
Street.
name?
Hazen Street.
That's Hazen. Okay. So obviously, I know you need an elevator to get up there. That's where your contour map is steepest, probably, right? And I have been around this area. It's just not ringing a bell. But obviously, is this your only way? Yeah, obviously it is. It's not my place to redesign the thing, but it sure is funny that you've almost got like this spiral going through the neighborhood just to get into this place, and then you just want to get out of it as soon as you can to get to the airport,
Well, and remember, the vehicles don't want to wait on the street, and this might be one of the reasons why they might not be paying as close attention to the stop sign as maybe they should be, right? But the only way they can get hails from the airport via the app is if, Tony talked about the geofencing. in order to get a hail, you need to be in this geo-fenced lot. So no one is looking to spend more time than, you know, they need to while they're waiting to turn onto the entrance onto Ingram's Mountain, sort of lingering on the street, because otherwise they will not be able to get the hail from the app from the airport.
So is redesign an option? Is redesigning the plans or no?
Redesign of what? I'm sorry.
Access in and out of Ingram's fantastic mountain.
So, I mean, there
It's
is,
a logical question, right? It's
Yeah.
a logical question, but the problem really comes from the elevation.
Yeah, I hear
Right.
you.
Green, blue, and orange, red areas here, they're about 40 to 50 feet above the elevation of the roadway. 19th Avenue is along the bottom. 45th Street is on the left side there. Hazen is on the right. And our driveway has, slopes up to get to the mountain off the Berrien Boulevard, which is in the back, and you can't see it there.
You see the parked cars in the middle top of the picture right there. So that must be a commercial establishment, obviously, right?
It is part of the
So-
airport.
So if you're, and this is the only idiot comment I'm going to make, but if you took your road from Ingram's Mountain, which heads northwest, Tony?
Yep.
There's no option to just go straight to 45th Street there? I guess not, right? South of that parking lot that I just mentioned?
Yeah, there's just it's just such a huge grade differential.
this
that
is all elevated
not
here,
feasible.
right? That's it looks like it's all flat, but this is all this greenery here is elevated.
And what's the elevation change there?
40 to 50 feet.
And you've got about, what, 400 feet there? Right? A city block is 200 feet. You see that city block below you there? That's 200 feet. So I guess you got about 300 feet. So 40 feet high and 300 feet, it's a hill.
It's the slope. Vehicles normally travel up a slope of 8%, and this is the driveway we have is right at the breaking point of what's acceptable. It's just so high. This hundreds of thousands of tons of soil and rock here.
Question, your overflow parking lot, the blue overflow parking lot, the furthest left point of that parking lot, right there. How many feet higher is that from the intersection or from 45th Street there on the left?
I would say it's 50 feet above.
From there?
Yeah, all of this shaded area is elevated, right? None of this is at.
No, I understand. Yeah. Okay. So we have other committee members with questions and other public.
Can I jump in for a quick second?
Sure.
So all the green around the parking lots is necessary because there's a huge development of condominiums indirectly in the area of Ingram's Hill also. So not only do you have the IBZ, but the greenery is needed to buffer any noise or impact on the housing that's in that area. A part of the problem, district manager, that I'm aware of, since the week that this opened, food trucks are going by 45th, and the Uber drivers, and this is not the airport's problem, it's impact. Food trucks are going over there, and the Uber drivers are utilizing the food trucks.
What do you mean going over there? Are they serving serving food as they move?
To serve, they're stationary. A food
Fair.
truck will go in the vicinity of 45th. They'll park, and then the Uber drivers will go up to the food truck to acquire food, which is causing the double parking, which my office became aware of yesterday. But because this meeting was happening first, I wanted to allow Port Authority to give their full presentation so I could hear it, because I will be working with Hirsch, I will be working with Tony, but these are all other agency problems. They're not Port Authority problems. They're impact by numbers of people. So you're aware of that.
I hear
So
you.
just to note, right, as Tony said, on Ingram's Mountain, we have food trucks, right, for the drivers. But again, in our observations, we see that there is at least one food truck that is parked here on the corner of 45th Street and Berrien as well. And so again, I don't know if they have a permit, if they're allowed to be there. I don't know what the city's rules are about that food truck being there. But again, that is, as Florence said, that is a situation for, a city agency to respond to, right? It's not like we provide the food facilities and the restroom facilities on top of Ingram's near that staging lot so that the drivers are able to, have all of that, there.
Precisely.
Yeah, it's definitely a DOT issue once again. I'd like
No,
to,
that's actually PD and Health Department.
well,
But
the street
that's
signage is DOT, no?
well, no, with a food truck, it's licensing, permitting, and
Right,
in the
but
parameter of the
parking and so
IBC.
forth, parking and so forth is DOT. So I'd like to hear from Nas. I know you have your hand up, and I see you, James Kane. But Nas, you haven't spoke yet, and you always bring the most brilliant observations. So no pressure, no
Don't
pressure.
say that. Anyway, so I grew up right around there on Hazen, just a couple avenues over. And yeah, not to belabor this point anymore, because I think well received. And while it would have been nice to make changes in preparation of this, it's not how it happened. But this is historically a kind of no man's land outside of, the industrial businesses that are happening there. And so now suddenly this whole space is activated by the nature of this for hire vehicle lot. And yeah, if you just look at a Google Maps photo of Berrien and 45th, there's nothing there. It's like the sticks. So for sure, going forward, we should start looking at making sure DOT is trying to update this whole area so that it works both for the industrial community and in terms of quality of life, traffic flow going there. Because yes, also this is one of the most popular areas in my neighborhood, at least. I'm still very close by, where all the like nighttime drag racing happens. So yeah, it's, for lack of a better word, it's a bit lawless over there.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look at my Google Maps. Wow, yeah. So Berrien is the avenue above 19.
Can I share information?
Please.
So we used to have a aeronautics school over there with a lot of young people parking cars to go to school and such. For years, our office has been working with DOT, asking for speed cameras. Again, to Nas's point, now that we have this partnership with Port Authority, I sincerely believe that DOT will become more effective in their role and pay more attention to what is going on, because when the studies were done, the volume wasn't there, whereas today it is more than evident that the volume is there. So I think once Hirsch and I get together with Tony and we write letters to DOT from the board office, I'm sure that actions will be taken by DOT. They'll do their studies.
Sure. You?
Yes, chiming in just to say that I definitely second Florence's proposal of adding a speed camera there. I think the change in grade, I think we'll probably need more, like speed bumps, elevator crosswalks, just to physical things to slow cars down.
Can I share something? The speed humps can't go.
I'm sorry. Please continue.
Oh, I apologize. I was
Yeah.
going to tell them about the speed humps. They're school buses.
Hold that thought.
I have a question. What sort of volume of vehicles are we seeing using the lot? And what is the marginal change, to existing traffic on 19th Ave or 45th Street?
Tony, do you want to cover sort of how many vehicles we're seeing?
Well, the vehicle lot is 360. You saw how large it is. We don't need all that space, so we just cut it off so it's well managed. We have 360 spaces, and it operates from early morning, probably 8 o'clock in the morning. Our first arrivals are coming in, aircraft arrivals are coming in between 7 and 8, but it starts out a little slow and then it picks up. And we have arrival aircraft throughout the day. LaGuardia's air traffic and passenger traffic is pretty consistent, believe it or not, most of the day. We have some peaks and valleys, but they're not very severe. It's pretty consistent. We're pretty busy all the time. And so
regarding Yu's question about the increase in road use percentage wise, I think that was your question, right, Yu?
Yeah, so that would require traffic
is it
study.
tenfold? Is it 20-fold, right, Yu? That's your question?
Yeah, I'm curious what that, we see it's 360 spaces, but what does that mean in terms of number of vehicles in a day?
Right. Well, Hugh, I can say it's certainly a market increase. We know that. I've been driving to Ingram's Mountain since 2016 when we built it for those various ways in which we used it. And we know the traffic on 45th and the parallel streets is generally light and it's all industry. And now that the airport is using it for this function, now you have passenger cars coming at a fairly, regular basis throughout the day. So it's up a lot. But as we mentioned, our traffic engineers are monitoring, and we're going to have our chief traffic engineer schedule a meeting with DOT to go over these issues, to advocate for some improvement. And as Florence mentioned, if you also provide that type of outreach, together we will get through to DOT and enable some change here that'll make it much better for the businesses in this area.
Thank you. That'd be appreciated. I do think just some kind of number, even if it's not exact, just to inform us, the community, would be helpful.
I mean,
Sure.
look, Hugh, it's what's important to note is there's approximately 360 spaces here. There's, regular turnover. The vehicles aren't spending a lot of time there, right? So there is a significant increase in vehicular traffic that previously did not come onto 45th Street from
Yeah,
19th heading towards Berry.
I
Right.
understood. And that's totally understandable. And
Do you know how many
LaGuardia-
cars use it a day? Sorry, you, but is it known how many cars use it? Is 360 turning over every hour? Harsh, is it turning over every 30 minutes? That would give us a number.
I mean, vehicles spend what? How many, a couple of minutes, maybe 10, 15 minutes tops, right?
And it's full most of the time?
It varies, probably 50 to 70% full. There's got to be a few hundred pickups every hour. So it's busy in and out.
So you could be looking at something like I'm guessing 300 to 500 cars an hour, right? If you're half full at 200,
Right.
and you pick up every 30 minutes, we're looking now at a traffic study of 400 cars per hour. And it's something hard to quantify. That's why I think you is asking, and I appreciate it, what
Good
it used to
question.
be, but it probably was something like, I don't know if it's got to be like 4 cars a minute, right? 4 cars a minute would be 240 cars an hour already. Do you know what I mean? So was it even as desolate as 4 cars an hour, gang?
Well, remember, in the past, the Ubers and Lyfts weren't up here. It was more
Understood.
for
Right.
employee parking or overflow customer parking.
Right.
And so, it was not nearly as heavily utilized as it is now.
Right. Understood. Okay, just in the in deference to time, I'm going to move on to other hands up if I could. Florence, you actually wanted to say something. It's something about cameras or something before we move on. You're muted.
I'm sorry, I get very excited about this stuff. This is my day-to-day work. I wanted to answer.
We forgive you.
I wanted to answer Hirsch. I've been working in this area for a long time, trying to help the industrial business zone because they've put upon quite a lot. They pay very high taxes and they suffered. There are school bus companies in the area, Hirsch, and when buses are in utilization, they don't put speed humps. You have tractor trailers going to the IBZ, to places like Steinway Piano Factory and such. So because of that usage, they will not install speed humps. But between signs and cameras, I think we can make a huge impact. I've been trying to rectify this area to facilitate the IBZ for some almost 8 years now. Been working very closely with them. And I'm pretty effective.
Thank you very much for your effective input. Cornelia, you had your hand up, but I think it's not up.
It was up, but I'm not sure if this question is relevant, but do you see it, thank you guys for the presentation. I thought it was great and very clear. But do you see an uptick in new vehicles due to the congestion pricing? Like in cars, instead of cars going out further out in, lower Manhattan, they're staying in the Queens area. Do you see an uptick in vehicles in LaGuardia because of it?
Look, I mean, I think, oh, go ahead, Tony.
No, I was going to say, I really don't believe there's a direct
Right,
connection.
right. I think, I don't know if congestion pricing has, at least not, maybe not yet, but it hasn't really had any significant impact on, trips to the airport and whatnot. But I also think, just more broadly speaking, it's still only a few weeks old, right? Or a month and change, right? So, I think sort of until it becomes normalized and we see, what the overall impacts are, it's hard to sort of make any judgments about that.
Understood.
Thank you.
Tom?
I'm just listening to everybody. I'm just thinking, in addition to having everything on the west side, why not have something on the east side where the marina is, the parking lot, the gas station, the
When you
Dunkin'
say
Donuts?
something, when you say something,
I'm sorry?
what do you mean by something, Tom?
Well, you have everything in the back corner on a mountain, all over here. I'm thinking it's really not very efficient. Now,
So
what
I-
if you had something similar on the other side of the airport, where the marina parking lot is? There's a Dunkin' Donuts, a gas station, that could, you know, not put all the eggs in one basket. I know it's late in the game, but I think that's what you really need here. You need,
So Tom, part of the issue is, those other lots you're speaking of are not Port Authority property. They are operated by New York City Parks or other entities. Some are, parking lots for the catering hall that you mentioned, et cetera. And so, because of how we exist and how we operate the airport, it was important for us to, move this operation onto Port Authority property.
okay.
James? I know you've had your hand up for hours, so James? Have you fallen asleep, Mr. Kane?
No, sorry, I just we had to unmute it. I just had a couple comments and concerns. I live 2 blocks north of where the vehicles make a right to go down to 45th Street and Berrien Boulevard. I think that obviously you guys already spoke about it, and it's a DOT issue and the city issue. But I think now that we have an idea that there's approximately somewhere between 1,000 to 5,000 additional vehicles in a 12-hour time slot, I believe there's only 2 existing stop signs there at that intersection. It needs to be upgraded to at least 4, because I think somebody was hit there not too long ago and they passed away. And also, if you go further down between 46th and 48th Street, that's where they conduct the motor vehicles conducts the the test to pass your driver's license, as well as you have a little league ball field there. And when you're bringing in an extra 5,000 vehicles without a proper crossing light right in front of Elm Jack League, you're kind of asking for something to happen with the upcoming baseball season with all these additional vehicles in the area. And then just a comment. I know there's an available property on 94th Street and 23rd Avenue that's been vacant for a long time. I think they just leveled it. I don't know if that would be something that the Port Authority can explore. I understand it's not their property, but it is closer to the airport, and it would kind of, even if they split the load into a smaller lot, then 19th Avenue and 45th Street, wouldn't have to deal with the brunt of 5,000 or 6,000 vehicles in a 12-hour window.
Where are you
So I
talking
think,
about? Sorry, where
James-
exactly are you talking about? 94th and what?
94th Street and 23rd Avenue. It used to
there
be a restaurant many years
there,
ago.
right? Yeah, there used to be a
Many years
restaurant on the
ago.
corner there. So
Correct.
I think to your point, James, one is, Elm Jack Little League, they are our tenants at LaGuardia, and we know them well, and we will be also speaking with them and coordinating with them because, of course, we want to make sure that the children are also, that they're safe when they are there, playing baseball and whatnot. So that is certainly something that will be occurring well in advance of the start of their season. And like I said, we have a very good relationship with them because they are in fact our tenants. But secondly, we have certain regulations and rules about about acquiring or even leasing property off the airport. And so, you know, that lot, that property you're suggesting on 23rd and 94th, you know, we described that we previously had a lot just a few blocks from there, right on 23rd and 90th Street. And upon the conclusion of that lease, it was important for us to, again, to return it to airport property because of some of the, limitations we have about other property off our airport property.
Well, yeah, a second option, like you said, is obviously it's parking for a catering hall there, but I don't believe all of that parking lot belongs to them. I know it's under the supervision of the Parks Department, but it appears to be at least 100 parking spaces there, which maybe might alleviate some of the ongoing traffic that's down there, because it's just like you said, there's going to be more further assessments by the DOT. But I don't think that corridor can handle that type of volume when you factor in the traffic from Rikers Island and the DMV and the commercial traffic and the tractor trailers that are parked there. It's, if it was maybe 1,000 vehicles or 2,000, I'd say, but the volume right now, it just started a week ago, just from my observation, and I'm not a traffic expert, it just seems like the volume is too much for that particular corridor. But, that's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Understood. I just want to joke that traffic experts are not traffic experts. We're finding out in the in this as things change in the city. Florence, you do have your hand up. Do you want to say something, or
yes? The board office put in for crosswalks to be painted by Elm Jack a few months ago, so we have requested that they install crosswalks so everybody knows.
So I do see one guys, I'm gonna close the comments to someone that must be related to my good buddy Rudy, and not take any more comments from the public at this point, because we're gonna close this part of the meeting and move on to our business session. And so thank you for all your comments. But before I do, I just want to say, Florence, perhaps within the next, perhaps immediately, we could please get a communication with DOT, perhaps you and I.
Tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Are you going to take questions from us at all before we move on? Because I mean,
I'd like to. I due to time constraints, I need to put a stop to the questions from the public.
But it's very important. Like you have questions from all these people, but you're not listening to.
I will.
The people that work down there in the businesses. You're not taking into consideration our safety. There's our safety. What about our safety?
Vincent,
all I hear is traffic studies and this, that, the other thing. What about our safety? What about me making it home to my son and daughter at night and my wife? All right? I've almost been hit. There's been fights. There's been arguments. They've become increasingly hostile. And I'm not allowed to talk because you guys are done. It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd.
Vincent, I'm going to need to mute you if you don't let me respond. Can I respond, Vincent?
Absolutely.
Okay. So first of all, people have been putting up their hands for the last hour, and you were well able to.
I can't put up my hand. I'm on a phone. There's nowhere to put up my hand.
Well,
I explained this at the beginning.
I'm not on a computer.
I'm at work on my phone.
Okay, your hands are well raised and your points are well taken. I don't know if you heard what I just said, but I certainly heard what you just said. Did you hear what I just said to Florence before you jumped in?
I did. But nobody's taking into consideration. There's no sidewalks. There's no stop signs.
Sure.
What about the pedestrians that walk down there at nighttime going home? There's no sidewalks. You are pushing them into the middle of the street with maniacs. These Uber drivers,
Thank you.
They don't care.
Thank you. Your points are well taken, and I'm glad you had a chance to speak. Vincent.
Can I speak too?
And I hold on a second, please. Is it Plinia?
Yes. Hi, how are you?
So, Vincent, not only your points well taken, but your passion is well taken too. Please, welcome to the street safety movement. Welcome to the, there's so many movements out there that realize that cars are dangerous. They They can be, you know, weaponized if, you know, there's a very lack of training and a lack of civility. And so now here's a change that happened in our community and people are speaking out. People have died in Astoria. A bicyclist was hit in October. And we've been, many people have been down at the 114 monthly meetings to demand changes. And so here we are with another change. We're not going to go out there. I'm being flip here to you, Vincent. We're not going to put in concrete sidewalks tonight, as you know. I know you heard me say to request.
We've been down in that neighborhood for 45 years. There hasn't been sidewalks there in 45 years. There hasn't been.
And have you been asking for sidewalks for 45 years? Have you been asking for sidewalks?
Actually, we have. We've
Yeah.
petitioned for sidewalks. We've petitioned for stop signs. We've petitioned for a stop light.
Okay.
It's true.
So this is just another reactive response. That's what we're having here, right? Is government proactive? I don't want to get into it. I need to move on to Plinia. So Vincent, thank you very much. I'm glad I'm glad you got your opportunity to speak. Appreciate it.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
not even close to you guys, but all right.
Thanks, Vincent.
I understand, Vicky. I understand Vinny's frustration because we just found out about this now. I'm the president of the Homeowners Civic Association, and I actually live on 49th Street. And I don't know if you guys just said you're talking about studies. I'm going to show you my Ring camera. Not even a study.
I'm not talking
Yeah.
about studies. There are other
Yeah.
people here in the room talking about studies. I'm talking about
Yeah.
meetings and action. But you know,
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah,
we get,
understood,
I'm
understood,
49th Street. Yeah,
understood.
I'm on 49th Street. So I am literally between Ditmars and 21st. So I have,
29th between Ditmars and 21st.
yes. So after 10 p.m., like if you go to your Uber app, because my son did this with me. If you go to your Uber app during the day, like say I call it Uber from my house, there's a few around. But after 10 p.m., there's a lot of them around. So by understanding that, they're all coming from that line. They're either shooting across down there or they're coming up 49th
What does that
Street.
mean, coming from that line? I'm sorry.
Well, I'm saying like 19th Avenue, they'll go
19th
towards the
Avenue, thank
airport,
you.
or they're coming down 49th Street. So at 10 p.m., you can't cross the street over here. And they're speeding, and I know we have a speed bump, and I asked several times for cameras because now it's that, but before it was the Amazon drivers who used to speed back. It's just insane
Okay,
at 10 p.m.
guys, can I tell you something? I hear you, and
Yeah, no, just this, like, this is our quality of life. Like
Sure.
I have to deal with Rikers Island. I have to deal with Amazon. I have to with the corrections officer who speeds down this line.
Sure.
It's a lot for us.
Sure,
Like he
sure.
said, on the other side of LaGuardia, there are parking lots with nobody around.
Okay, I'm gonna, Plenty, I really appreciate it, and hello to Rudy.
I will.
It's hit on 8
Thank you.
o'clock and people.
No, I
We're
get it.
gonna
I get it.
lose-
Yeah, I'm
we're
just, it's like they should really, it should be the fair share. So why should this part of a story always get, everything?
Well, understood. I have a lot of comments, but I don't have time to say them. Tom,
No
before
worries.
I see
Okay.
Tom has got his hand up, and I'm gonna give him the floor. for the
Thank you.
last
I
comment.
appreciate it. But,
Plenty, are you okay?
yeah. No, me, of course, yeah.
All right. No, because you're maybe mute or something. Hello,
No,
Rudy.
I'm here. I hear
Okay.
you. I see you. Yellow wall.
No, but I'm saying we're hearing you in the background as the.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. Thank
No
you.
worries. No worries.
Tom is patiently chewing and waiting to speak.
I'm having my dinner.
When you're done with your dinner,
I just want to suggest both to Vincent and to ladies that spoke to come to our full board meeting, and speak about this, and bring other people and mention about it. And this is the Port Authority presenting at the full board meeting.
not that I know of, Florence, and that would be the 18th, everybody.
Yes. So
No, and honestly, they should be calling the board office. For example, I know Plinia for years. I've never gotten a call I got a call about the Amazon trucks. I didn't get a call about Rikers Island. That's NYPD enforcement. That's not something the board members could repair. I would have to talk to the community affairs and the task force for those. My office, as you all know, has a distance from this, very close. And the Amazon trucks speed from their warehouse to their storage unit every day, 5, 6, 7 trucks in a row. That's NYPD. That's not the board or it's enforcement, strictly enforcement.
Thank you. So Tom made a great point to every community resident, to community member to come to the CB1 open meeting next Tuesday, the 18th at Astoria Manor at 6:30. I will be there. I'm just kidding. I will be there. And I just want to say something to Harsh and Tony. There is, in my opinion, are you there? You guys looking?
Absolutely.
Not doing your homework there. So I'm kidding. So there's an elephant in the Zoom room right now, in my opinion. And I just think significantly better public transportation would be a easy lifter of all boats in terms of calming the traffic that's now racing, because it sounds like, I mean, you know, not for nothing, the whole meeting has been about FHVs, private vehicles. I know that's the theme of the meeting, but if mass transit from LaGuardia to transit hubs like the 7 train and the N train and the city were more like if you were more proactive and advocates of that, perhaps we wouldn't have this, what I perceive to be a bit of an emergency. I really mean it. So it's like you guys are possibly, you know, you're pushing planes up and down in the air, you're getting people in and out, you're keeping all the stress. Your goal is to keep the stress out of the airport, and it's overflown into the neighborhood. And if, when you started your planning, a good idea of like a tremendous bus service to certain lots, certain parking lots, certain transit hubs in the 7 train, 74th, N train, and the city, we might not be in this mess. But this is, we all have to agree, this is definitely a turbulent time here, if not a mess.
So
What do you
Dominic,
think about the suggestion about better mass transit quickly
Yeah.
reviewed?
So if you know, one of the first questions that we were asked was from Hugh, who I know had to drop, right? But he mentioned mass transit and the buses. So there is currently a free bus service that the MTA offers in partnership with the Port Authority, right? The Q70 that connects to Jackson Heights, Roosevelt Avenue, 74th Street, and 61st Street, Woodside, and to the airport. We are working with the MTA and with City DOT to improve that bus service, make it more reliable, reduce travel times, and make it an even more attractive option for people trying to get to and from the airport. Again, another element of our mass transit ground access program is new bus service as well to connect to subway hubs. And so, yes, absolutely, we agree that mass transit is important, and that we are doing what we can in partnership with MTA and DOT to improve mass transit access, ground access to the airport.
Lawrence? Hi. Because I know that you're muted.
Hi.
Hi. So can I ask you to please somehow manage what Harsh is mentioning and try to find out the
I already have. We have had a presentation on this, Dom. The problem is the
Can I
business
just fin- can I
owners.
just finish? I just want to finish, just to be clear. I don't want to.
Sure. I apologize.
So that's fine. The goal, even if we might have had meetings and we may have established what we have now as the status quo, if you could look into what is the frequency of the buses now, and then reach out to MTA and see if they and the Port Authority think that an increase in that bus or some type of other priority lanes in the airport may make that bus more desirable to people.
So Dominic, I can jump in right there because we, as you said, we will be coming back to the community board in the very near future, in the next few months, to maybe even sooner than that, to discuss more about our plans and proposals to improve bus access to LaGuardia. And that includes everything you just discussed. It includes things like transit signal priority. It includes dedicated bus lanes. It includes the new pickup and drop off area on the airport and so much more.
Right.
So
okay. So
there's more coming, and we are very hard at work with MTA and with DOT to implement some of those modifications to improve the Q70 service. I mean, even without these improvements, and Ian and Tony and others can see this, there has been a tremendous increase in ridership of the Q70 ever since it became fare free, right? Where you're not paying a fare to ride it. And so based on that, based on the limited public transit access that exists, because it's just buses, right? We are working very hard to to make them as attractive as possible. And that includes everything from not just the travel experience, but wayfinding, right? Make it very easy to understand what the Q70 is, how to take it, where to take it,
Right.
And so on and so forth.
So Florence, I thank you, Hirsch. Don't mean to cut you off, but Florence, I guess the question would be if you could find out when is the Q70 maxed out and people are like missing buses. That's really the question. I have no idea. Hirsch, maybe you have.
He did this study. Hirsch
No, I
did
understand.
this.
Uh-huh.
So we
All
did
the things you're asking, he did already.
we did a
So they're
whole study,
coming
Dom, and
back.
I think part of the upgrades will include increased service on the Q70. So that is also part of the plan in what I just described.
And so I think that the reality to all the residents of the area that are up in arms is changes like that, they're also not going to happen overnight. They're going to take time for the public to wean themselves off of these Ubers, and it's all predicated on the significant improvement in that Q70 experience. So that's vital to this problem as much as speed bumps and stop signs, in my opinion.
Not necessarily, Don, because the IBZ has been inundated and the people who live on that end of Astoria have been inundated, not only with the issues from the airport, but with all the problems happening over from Flushing where they're closing down to build the soccer stadium. The IBZ has seen a huge influx of tractor trailer businesses where people are doing business out of the trucks. The main thing is getting those stop signs put in, the crosswalks and sidewalks. And it pivots back to the fact that we have a partner now with Port Authority who is a monster partner who will advocate with DOT to get those sidewalks, those lights, and those stop signs put in.
Sure.
This has been a long haul.
No, I understand, but I think as Hirsch said and Hirsch knows and Tony heard and Tony knows, the reduction in the cars also will give a little bit of calming to the neighborhood. It's amazing how if you take the density of traffic down 15%, it seems like there's no cars at all. It's happening in the city now with the congestion relief program. You don't have to go down to zero to think that the area is calm. You just have to eliminate the craziness. So thanks. We'll Florence, you'll monitor the Q70, and Harsh, you'll get back to us on the hourly density and see where that's going. And we'll also meet with DOT to talk about all those safety installations that you just mentioned, Florence. And please, public, please, I think 311 is effective in problems in my area. Please reach out to the borough, community board office, and I encourage emails because they have a record. So I think that when we look back later, we can see, there's power in numbers. And if Florence has 500 emails versus 500 phone calls, it's going to mean more when we go to DOT or NYPD. Tom, is your hand still up, or did you just not put it down?
No, I brought it up one more time.
Well, when you're through your second course, please enlighten.
I'm sorry, you're going into dinner hour now. You think about this. You got LaGuardia in a corner of a thing and trying to bring it to modern times. It was open in '39 with LaGuardia, and people want to use their cars. People want to drive and park. They want to take FCD. They got to do this and that, and it's just not designed for that. And more. I mean, we're thinking of, and I'm not trying to put anyone down, but we're like doing Band-Aid approach to something that needs a major development, and I don't see that happening. So the will isn't there. So especially under the current federal administration, I don't think anything's going to happen. So, let's say a prayer. That's my last piece.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's 8 o'clock on the nose. I think we will wrap up the Port Authority presentation and question and answer session. I've covered all my Word docs with my internet here, so I
And
thank Hirsch. Is it Hirsch or Harsh?
It is Hirsch.
Hirsch. So I want to thank Hirsch, Tony, and the supporting cast of Kevin, Ian, Not Ivan, and Ferdinand and Frank for your presentation. And I think that we'd, we'll expect communication through the borough office. I'm sorry that Evie wasn't here for this meeting, the chair, but and then regards to the public, please do. We encourage you to show up on Tuesday to continue to make your points, because we're just a committee here. And if you could bring your concerns to the full board, it would be most effective, as Tom stated earlier.
And one more thing. So why did the Port Authority set up a town hall meeting for people in that area, separate from the committee board?
So we will be meeting with many of the impacted groups. We've already started meeting with them as well. And so I know I can't remember who it was, but someone was someone who lives in the Garden Bay condos over there. We've been looking to set up a meeting with that condo association as well. And so we are continuing our community outreach and engagement to meet with the folks, the stakeholders in that area, and that will.
Well, you have Helena, Sarkazy, who represents something in the same area. Maybe you should do a wider reaching, so it seems to impact more than just the Garden Bay there. So, just food for thought.
I think she's signed off.
We appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for having us. And as I said, my colleague Raquel, who helped set this meeting up, she's on vacation this week, so she wasn't able to join. But she and Frank and myself and Tony and Kevin and everybody will make sure that we continue to monitor the situation, the conditions, and work with our traffic team and city DOT to advocate for certain modifications to improve the conditions there. And we will work with Florence and the office to also on some of those suggestions and recommendations, and keep an open line of communication.
Thanks. And we don't want to ignore the fact that we got, LaGuardia Airport's general manager of landside operations. We know that you guys have important things to do and you must be busy 12 hours a day. So we appreciate your time from 6:30 to 8. We appreciate it very much. We really do.
We were happy to be here, and it's very important to us.
Thanks.
Take care. Have a good evening, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Thanks,
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so I'm just looking at some of the chat there, but I think we covered the spirit of all the comments. So I'd like to move on to new business. Is there any new business? Should I have said, is there any old business?
Hey, Dom, sorry. I'm raising
Hi,
my hand.
Antonella.
Okay, I just wanted to say the concern with the sidewalks, is that something that Florence can look into for those folks? It sounds like a safety issue and that they've been on it. Maybe it's something that we can support. Just tossing it out there.
Antonella, we recently had a sidewalk installed that took 100 years to get installed. From the beginning of the project to the end of the project, it took 5 years to get the sidewalks installed. This is the first time I've heard from the IBZ about the sidewalk. Tomorrow, I'm going to get on it with DOT. This is definitely something that the office can take care of. It's not something that will happen overnight. It takes time. There's a lot of federal funding and other funding included in doing sidewalks.
So we're not going to go out tonight, you and I, and mix cement and put down sidewalks?
Right. But it's something that mandatorily needs to be done. It should be done. They pay very high taxes over there, and it's a huge impact on the community.
Yeah.
And I'm
at
pretty
least we can-
successful.
Yeah, no, I know you are. At least we could start to get the ball rolling, and if we have to get maybe councilman, whoever, a council person for that area to support it and push it, maybe we could do that. That's all.
Understood. I'm just still reading the chat. Okay. Thanks, Antonella. Old business, no. New business, no.
Yes, new business.
Just 1 second. Just a comment that I think many of us and other local residents were at the 114. What's the name of their meeting? It's a public meeting, or the one on
Community
July
Council, 114th Community Council.
Community Council. So many of us went to this meeting in support of the tragic death of Miss Severia on in October, and raised some issues with the 114 and their traffic managers. And I think that it was basically very informative for me. And I think I'm going to try to continue to go. And I think some of the metrics and numbers of enforcement were surprisingly low. And so I hope to go back and keep working on them and try to get some change there. They basically said they give out about 400 tinted window, dark window infractions to vehicles a year, and nobody said, "Wow, that's more like one in a quarter a day," but it is. So it was just basically a kind of sad but effective evening, and I once again thank the Severios, the parents of Amanda, for showing up at that event. That's my old business. So Tom, please go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to bring up something for the future. Street lighting. Street lighting getting is worse and worse and worse. They have reduced the number of lights. The illumination is terrible. Those days, lights would light a street and it would be a continuous beam of lights. You see. Now it's like little spotlights. And what happens now, you have all these people on the roadway, bikes without reflectors, people wearing black and not using the crosswalks, and you can't see people. You can't see other cars. So other cars have to use their high beams, which makes it even worse. Really, I don't know when this started under Department of Transportation, but they're not sufficiently lighting the streets anymore. They're using LED bulbs and what have you, and it's a very dangerous situation when you have all people from all different transportation modes using these roads and the streets aren't properly lit. Either it has to be fully lit so you can see from one end to the other, or turn all the lights off and everybody just drives with the high beams. So,
Tom, I hear you. And is it, I think it's kind of a question of bad design versus bad amount of lighting, because I, for one, don't think the solution is more and more lighting. You know what I mean? I think that there's some type
what
of
is the efficiency of them, the lumens. They've gone from incandescent to halogen to up, and now we're up to LED. And the lights aren't sufficient. You go to major intersections of Astoria, and they're not well lit. They have to be lit.
Guys,
and that's the problem. It's not a question of more lights. It's better
That's
lights.
what I'm saying. So what can we do to move on your comment about lighting? Perhaps you can would you be able to just shoot a quick what action should we take from your comments?
We want to start conveying to the people who, we have.
So should we bring in the lighting engineers at
it's look, we get all these engineers and experts to tell us we need to light the streets. We need to light the intersection. We need to illuminate the crosswalks, the bike lanes, so we can all see each other. And what they're doing is they're changing I think lumens is the way to measure. They're using the LED lights, which are not very bright.
So, okay, understood. Florence, Nas, I got you 100%. Florence, are you there?
Thank you. Tom is 100% spot on.
Florence, sorry, please.
Oh, you called on me.
Florence, can you do me? No, I didn't. I asked you a question. Can you do me a favor? Can you please ask your DOT contacts, our DOT contacts, how the street lighting has changed in the last 20 years.
I can tell you, this
No,
is
okay.
constituent.
Okay, get it formally in writing and let's talk about it at the next meeting, please. All right? Because I'd like to see something in writing from DOT. I just don't want to hear, I know you know all the answers, but let's get something that can defend Tom's claim in writing, please.
Dominic, you don't have to go through, you can just walk outside your front of your house, walk outside your street, walk down
We're
Astoria
gonna
Boulevard.
make effective change. Sorry to cut you off. We need to
No, it's
start
okay,
with
but I'm
something
saying,
in writing.
you know, we've
Nas.
been down this path to DOT and they're very
Well, let's
anti-whatever, so.
try. Okay,
Okay,
we need to try. Nas, go ahead.
As someone who works in the lighting business, one of my pet issues is this thing with the new LED lights. And bad news for you, Tom, it's a global problem, and it has to do with the color temperature of the LED light technology that's getting installed everywhere, both in the street lights and the cars. Bottom line is, this is not going to get fixed for a while. And there's not less lights. It's just that the temperatures that they use are worse at illuminating areas, like compared to the old halogen color temperatures. So I've also looked into this with regard to the city. The color temperature has changed a few times over the years, but it's not the same like it was back in, like, you know, the 80s and 90s and even before. So like the world has this problem right now, and it's especially a big deal with the level of brightness and adjustment on vehicular lights, because those have changed dramatically as well.
I find those extremely bright. Or I find automobile lights extremely bright.
They have materially changed. It's
Have
a
they,
whole
have
different
they
ballgame.
possibly gotten brighter?
Absolutely, and
Right.
worse at illuminating.
So,
That's
and not for nothing, but if you have vehicle lights getting brighter, you look away, you're more in the dark. So it's
exactly the
possibly,
problem. This is one
yes,
of my pet issues. It's like
right.
the whole thing happening
And
across.
I know Florence is there with screen up saying, that's what I was gonna say. So Florence, come on back to the meeting. What were you gonna say?
Why? You don't want to hear what I have to say?
No,
He
but-
said exactly what I was going to say.
But
This
what
is-
temperature should it be and what temperature did it used to be?
But that's not, I don't know the numbers, but the problem is that this is a constant complaint from constituents. This is something I deal with. You can talk to somebody like Phyllis, who
Question.
calls our office regularly.
Hi,
And
Phyllis.
these things are put into the DOT on a regular note.
Has anybody linked the brightness or the lack of brightness on the street signs to NASA's comment that the vehicle lights are so flippin' bright that
This is
it,
a
that it-
well-researched topic. It's like a big problem, literally global problem.
so in other words, you gotta come to it, solve the problem from both sides, you know?
But and I'm not the expert here, and I don't know about color, this and that, but if you can't properly light the street, people will use their high beam, where they have the newer cars, the newer lights, or the older cars with the earlier ones. And it makes it difficult because your pupils dilate because you can't, it's dark out. Then
Well,
someone hits you with a high beam.
they also dilate because you see the oncoming cars are amazingly more bright than they were 10 years ago. Look, you'll notice it now. They're amazingly bright. They're not.
Yes, but they're
down,
using
they're
those
bigger
lights
cars.
because they're, you know, if you have a dark street and people put in the high beam, which makes sense, and someone puts on the high beams all these special colored lights, you're getting blinded because your
Right.
pupils are dilated to,
Right. And you're not
and-
going to
and
see. You're not going to see.
and you're not going to see the
and-
pedestrian, the
Exactly.
car, and the little old lady, and everybody else, and that's the problem. So either fix the lights or turn them off, get reflectors, or do something that makes it levels the playing field. You know.
Right. So.
And I'm, you know, because global doesn't. I don't care about Istanbul, but I care about New York City. So at least the highways. So.
He cares about you, Istanbul. All right. So that's a great point, Tom, and I'm glad we got to discuss it quickly. And I'm sorry if
okay.
I appreciate it very much. So any other comments, or should we adjourn this meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second by
Antonella.
Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you Tuesday night.
Night.
See you Tuesday. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Thank you, Harish Studios. You can close the video. Thank you for everything.